Hi everyone, welcome back. So in the previous video we have seen how to work with the Logic app. Now we are going to see how to work with Function app. So when you're talking about the Function app, it is going to run some small pieces of code that can be executed, some sort of small task, or it might be small or it might be a fast one, like resizing an image and putting it somewhere. Whenever you upload a image to the storage devices or a storage account in a blob, something like that, as soon as you upload it, I want to resize it and I want to put it inside a blob, so I can write that as a function. So what is the advantage of using a function app? In the sense, it is very much same like what to say, like there is no need to have an instance, just like the Logic app. In Logic app we have not written any single line of code, and it will be always in the consumption mode. So as you consume, you need to pay. But function app is slightly different. How means, if the functions are running continuously like the web app, then you need to pay them for the whole month, or you have an option of using in the consumption mode as well. So since we are using that in the consumption mode, like as you, whenever it is required, will trigger that function. When you trigger it, it's going to execute that stuff. So they used to call this particular model as serverless. In this mode, you need to pay only when the function is invoked, and the function can scale automatically. Even as a end user or a developer, I don't want to scale it. So like based on the number of requests, it will automatically scale. So that's the advantage. Whereas in the web app, we need to manually scale it. But there is an option called auto scaling as well, but we need to configure that. Right here, there is no such configuration at all. So when you go for the consumption model, this will automatically get scaled based on to serve the number of requests. So function app make the binding very easily to get the input for the function and output it to the resources like Azure Block Storage without writing any code. No, sorry. Get the input for the function. Okay, so I'm talking about like how they are getting the input and output. So we'll see how to work with this function app with a small demo. In this demo, I'm just going to show you how to create a function which is going to just give hello world through an API using the Azure portal. So let me just log in into the Azure portal. After logging in into the Azure portal, I'm just moving into this all services, and let me just select compute. Under the compute, you can see this function app, and if you want to use it very frequently, let me just bookmark it so that it will be available in the left hand side navigation. So let me just click a function app. After selecting that, we need to click this add button. So when you're trying to click the add button, it'll ask you some details. So let me just provide that. CG function app demo, subscription Visual Studio, resource group. I'm just going to I can create a new one called the CG function app demo. Let it be, and where you want to run this function. So you have the option of working with Windows or else with Linux. So you can create functions with different languages available. You can even create a function using C# or else with the JavaScript. So that's the reason we have these options. So I'm going with Windows, and the hosting plan, you can go for the consumption plan, or else you can even select the app service plan as well. So when you go for the app service plan, already we have deployed the web apps, right? So in that same, we can just host this one as well. But when you are going for this consumption plan, lets you to pay per execution and dynamically allocate the resource based on your application load. App service plan let you use a predefined capacity allocation with a predictable cost and scale. So that's the advantage when you're going for the consumption mode, pay per execution. So how many times it is getting executed, based on that it is just going to we are going to incur with the charges. So the location that I'm going to use here is West Europe. So I'm picking up West Europe, and the runtime stack, this is important. Like there are a lot of options here. If you see, we can use .NET Core, Node.js, Java, PowerShell, etc. So I'm just using the .NET Core, okay, the runtime. And so when I select .NET Core, you can run anything like C# code, which works on Linux as well as the Windows. But since I have selected the Windows, so Windows operating system based functions you are supposed to write, and I don't want the application inside, so let me just disable it as of now. I'll explain what is application inside tomorrow. So apply, and let me create that. So when I create this, it will provision and deploy that function app. Let me just look into the notification icon. Yep. Refresh. Under the resource group. Yep. CG function app demo. Okay, so we have, it has just created that, but where it is? Yep, it's getting created, I guess. So we have a storage account. Let me refresh. Yep. Now we have our function app demo. So let me just open that. So when I open that, now we are ending up in a screen where you can create some functions. So I'm just coming up with the basic stuff here. So in this function, let me just create one new function here. Click the plus icon. Azure functions for .NET getting started. So I'm just, if I can go for that. Otherwise, yeah. Screens are totally changed now. Okay. So when I click this, I want that web overview, platform features. Okay. Quick start. I don't want quick start. Okay, let me add a new function. Look at this. When I click the function app demo, we have the function app demo. In this, I want to create a new function. So once again, the screen is different. Yeah, click on the function and then say new function. So when I click that function, so it provides with different options. So like the way we have created with the logic app, we have the HTTP trigger, time based, we can create a function and we can execute on a specific schedule, or the function which works with Azure Service Bus, Azure Blob Storage Trigger. So there are a lot of such functions are there, inbuilt one. So I'm just picking up with the HTTP trigger. So with API kind of stuff, like whenever I hit that API, I want to get the response. So when I click this HTTP trigger, so it's asking to provide a name. Let me just take that name. I want to create a function. Let me create that. and it will be ended up with one code. Okay, look at this. This is a function, and if you see, they are using the task parallelism, and whenever I run this function, it will just in the console screen here, that is in the log, it will just simply say C# HTTP triggered function processor request. And for this particular function, if you pass because it needs to be accessed via the API URL I told you, right? In the URL, if there is a query string called name, if the name is passed, that name will be assigned, and it will just check it out, is there anything in the request body, because we can use it in the post as well. We can give a get request, or else even in the post, if there is any data in the post, it will just take the data from the body and put it inside the body. If the name is not equal to null, if name is not equal to null means there is no query string has been passed, then it is just simply is going to print that name, hello name. Otherwise, it will just give a message called please pass a name on the query string or in the request body. Look at this. So it's going to work for both. So we can write some functions here. They have written it for HTTP request. So for this, we don't want to write any special code. That's what I said. So automatically it provides the interfaces for it. So we need to just write the code. So with the request object, whatever things we can do, we can just place it here. So with the request object, I can get the request query string. Then from the body, I can take something and I can write that code to do some sort of activity. In this demo, it is very simple. It will just take that query string. If the query string is in the query string it is passed, it will take that name. If not, it will try to take it from the request body, and it will just print that name. Otherwise, it will give you the bad request object result by simply passing this message, please pass a name on the query string or in the request body. Now, how to run this? So to run this, I'm just going to get that particular function URL. Can you see that there is a function URL, and the portal has changed a lot, I guess. Priorly it was here. So let me just click get function URL. So if you see that this is a function URL, let me just copy this. After copying, I am opening Notepad. Paste it. After this is the URL. Okay, so in this URL with HTTP we are going to invoke that function. So I can just pass the query string here. In the query string, ampersand symbol, name equal to Karthik. Okay, so copy this and let me just check. I think it's possible to test here itself, or let me just press it here directly. Paste it, press enter. It does that. If you are not passing anything in the query string, there is nothing in the query string, it will just say please pass a name on the query string or in the request body. So how to pass it in the request body? That is in the post request. If you want to pass, so you need to use some tool like Postman. So I'm using the Postman here, Chrome :apps. I have installed the Postman. With this we can give HTTP request and test it out. You can use anything. I have created a function. So this function is not available through a web API. Priorly, if you remember, we can do the same thing with web API. But if you want to do it with web API, the problem is we need to put it into the the web application. That is, as a API app we need to provide. For that we require that pass infrastructure, right? We require the S1 instance. So many things are there. But when I go for a function, so as much time this function, when I trigger it with via the HTTP, that function is going to be get invoked, and when that function is invoked, it's going to produce a result. As and many times you consume it, it is going to incur with charge as per the number of times you are going to execute that function. Okay, let me just try it out with the post request this time. So first let me give with get request, paste it. There's a get request. Let me send. You got that message. Okay, what about post? So in the post, if I give the post in the request body, I'm giving as a URL encoded value name as Karthik. Okay, instead of Karthik, I'm just giving Ganesh. Okay, here I don't want. Okay, the content type as form URL encoded. Body, we have passed this data. Let me just click send. Okay, there is a problem here. So that function is not working properly. Let me see what's the problem with that function. How they have created it. So they are just request.body. Okay, simply they are they are expecting a JSON, I guess. JSON convert. Okay, we'll pass it as a JSON data. So in that case, we'll open this. So go with this one. I'm using JSON name with the value Ganesh. Okay, and the header. Sorry, in the body, let me just pick up. This is a JSON, and it's correct. Perfect. So header we have specified it is a JSON, and this is a URL. Okay, let me just try to click the send. You can see that. This is just an idea. So what is the advantage of going for a function app? In the sense, you can write this with different languages. Many languages are available, like you can use C#, you can use JavaScript, you can use Java, PHP, many such options, not PHP, Python. So you can write that functions and you can just make it execute. Whenever it is getting executed, it is going to be get incurred with the charge. Okay, so